times when it doesn't need to be authorized. My life is hard. All right, let's see. We're live, so hello everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're gonna play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Woohoo!
Yeah!
Woo!
I am Christiana Ellis, and I am the Dungeon Master. Our players tonight: Jenny Meltzer as the Dark Elf Warlock Zaleen.
I'm super goth, guys.
Starla Hutchton as the Changeling Bard Carolina.
Hello, friends.
Paul Fisher as Zinhorn Windborn Dragonborn Cleric.
Good evening.
Chooch Schubert as the Warforged Artificer Sequential.
Hello, hello.
Last but not least, Mark Kilfoyle as Nedry Shiny Rock, the Gnome Wizard.
I have so many questions about Buster, but I don't know who to ask.
And also, of course, having joined the party, Buster, the Grey Render who has decided that Zinhorn is his best friend. And yeah, that's working great so far. Currently, you have all managed to arrange Buster to be approximately guinea pig sized by introducing him into your recently acquired size changing tower. And you are currently hiding out there, having set up this tower in the middle of a swamp outside of Gorn. You've discovered a couple of things. One is that the person hired to spy on you by quote unquote Nelson, aka friend of the Emperor, seems to be associated somehow with some soldiers that have the Emperor's seal on their armor and flew off in a very fancy small airship craft. You also managed to convince your new ally, comrade in arms, Evan, that he can best help the cause by staying in Gorn and not coming with you to get killed. But in the meantime, you have lost your airship ride, and as soon as you come back out of the tower, your Grey Render pet, Buster, is going to be grizzly bear sized again. And you're still trying to get to Emersham, which on foot is going to be several days away. So we left off last time, though, with everyone kind of settling into their evening routine before perhaps taking a long rest. So before everyone gets their long rest, let's talk about what, if any, business you wanted to take care of that evening.
I'm going to do my meditation, and then afterwards, I was going to go out and help Sequential look for the key.
All right.
Yeah, there was no real reason to watch the door anymore, so
Mm-hmm.
I would be good with spending an hour, a couple hours looking.
Okay. Well, if you're doing your meditation first, Zaleen, that would be 4 hours. So before that, before we move to that, is there anything else that anyone was doing more immediately?
We kind of
Well, I
skipped over whether Carolina and Zaleen actually told us what they found out.
yeah, we did. I didn't actually say what we had found out.
Yeah, we didn't. We said we were going to wait until we got inside.
Because we came back drunk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they lost Evan along the way somewhere.
So I don't know. A part of me was like, maybe I'll just wait till morning to do it because
I mean,
Yeah.
all of you tell me you managed to sort of set the tower up and bundle yourselves in, although Zaleen and Carolina did, as previously mentioned, come back feeling a little tipsy and pleased with themselves. Meanwhile, everyone else is covered with swamp filth and kind of beat up.
Just digitate.
So yeah, they cleaned us up when they got back.
Hmm?
That's right. Yeah, it was a lot of prestidigitizing.
Okay,
Yes.
so do you all have a conversation before you scatter to the four corners of this tower, or are you leaving it till the morning?
I think we're gonna leave it till morning,
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
unless anybody
Yeah.
presses it. Like we sort of like ran off to the bed and we're like, "See ya."
Yeah,
Like,
I was
just-
going to, I would let everybody know I was going to prepare some spells that give us some options tomorrow. I can make somebody invisible for a few hours, and I can alter my how I appear for the day. So we don't have to strategize what we're going to do tomorrow. But as far as getting things out of town, those are two options I can bring to the table.
We do have to go get supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It seems like
But I think it should be a subset of us.
It seems like perhaps Zaleen and Carolina are not feeling especially like helpful or cooperative as they come in.
Super giggly.
Which is cool. I'll just put that out there.
Sure. You know what?
Prepare as you will.
How about for the moment, those of you who are watching us here on video can check out the brand new map that I have made of this tower here. So let's take a look. Those of you
New map, new
players
map.
who are in Roll20 should be able to see this as well. Please let me know if you can't. We have left to right the first, second, third, and fourth floor of this tower. So of course you have the outside door is right here. Here's your little tiny door that if you wouldn't be able to fit through it coming through immediately, but then here's the door into the first floor room, which has a sitting room, a couple of fancy chairs in front of a fireplace, a small dining room type table with 4 chairs, and some other bookshelves and like a dish cabinet. Whoops, I'm just realizing some of these, my little props here keep flipping themselves. So let me fix that while I'm talking about it. So,
The building is a little bit unstable, that's all.
Oop. Man, see, this is what I get for trying to move stuff and change the orientation. Some of these I flipped their orientation to make them look right, and then every time I moved them, they shift back. But so you have the first floor, as mentioned, which has the sitting room, dining room, bookshelves, and so on. You go up the stairs. There's a landing on the second floor that goes around. And so on this schematic of the first floor, obviously it doesn't show the door. It's just representative of the top down. But so on the second floor map, you can see the door that goes into the second floor room, which is divided approximately in half between a sort of kitchen and pantry setup and an alchemy lab that is also divided by an invisible wall of force approximately halfway across the room that has a gap on one wall that allows you to go back and forth between the two. And that wall of force does appear to go floor to ceiling, even though it has a gap that lets you, just walk around. And if you were to continue to go up the stairs to the third floor, you have a bedroom with a big, fancy queen-size bed, a desk, and a dresser. And then all the way back up around to the fourth floor, you can go into that room. That room looks like it was once a much fancier sort of tinkering workshop, perhaps, but right now everything in it has basically been smashed to splinters. And you haven't done a lot of really deep searching through that stuff, but a preliminary inspection didn't find you very much that you hadn't already found, which included the damaged device that also changes things' size. But on this fourth floor, if you were to continue going up the stairs, there's a door right here. And once again, if you leave through that door, you will emerge through this tiny door, now 1/12 the size of your original stature. Or are you? It's a little bit complicated. And so on that note, one of the things we ended last session with was Nedry attempting to use his identify ritual to find out a little bit more about that. Now, what you, I think, discover, Nedry, with Identify is that uh, usually when things have like a specific spell on them or even a relatively complex magical item, your Identify spell kind of lets you just sneak a peek at the source code of the magic inside, right? And usually those are relatively simple to read for those who understand the code. And you are able to, get through them relatively quickly. But what you find here is that when you're attempting to use this spell on the entire tower, you're discovering that it is in fact actually a extremely complex, multi-layered, tiered sort of setup. So you can determine a couple of really principal operating features of it, but to actually try to untangle every element of how this is made would be the work of probably years of study. Like if you wanted to know like every detail about it. But you are able to discern a couple of really, well, I was going to say really interesting things, but I suppose I should let you be the judge of how interesting they are. But the principal thing that you discover about this very strange tower is the nature of the size changing, because it seems a bit unusual, like what exactly is happening there when you go through all the way around and end up at a smaller size but apparently in the same location as your friends. You do not have a sense of having transformed in any way, simply moved your location, and yet now you are a different size relative to the other surroundings. And what you determine is that this place is in fact multiple created demiplanes layered over each other in a way that they overlap the actual physicality of the tower. And so every time you go through the threshold of that door, you are technically changing from one demiplane to the next. And it is the properties of those planes that are different in scale. And so it is definitely, subjectively, just a change in location rather than a change in size. But because they're all layered over each other in this way, you are existing in a physical space with people who are technically in a different version of the demiplane. And the thing about that, Nedry, is having looked into the idea of demiplanes and stuff like that, because of your current occupation, that the idea of maybe, possibly, layering two demiplanes over each other in one space is theoretically possible, but would require tremendous energy and would be potentially very dangerous, and it could theoretically create the sorts of interactions that you've heard of with like a portable hole and a bag of holding, say. And so it's generally regarded as something that the math seems to suggest that it could be done, but certainly no one has ever published anything about being able to do it. And that's a little bit like saying, in theory, people might be able to send some kind of a signal over an electrical wire that could be converted to sound and make it like, the very first telephone. And then you find yourself now looking at an iPhone. The very principle of how this tower operates, you understand the very basics of what it must be doing, but how it accomplishes this, much less the idea that as far as you can tell, there is not a limited number of them. Even though, if you were to continue going around and around and around the circuit, becoming relatively smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, each circuit would, of course, become more difficult to achieve. But as far as you can tell, looking at the source code, there is not actually a limit, which has some strange implications if you were to ever actually explore that. And in fact, you suspect that that is, in fact, what this tower was intended to do, was to explore that very aspect. Magic Tower!
Mind blown.
Yeah. So, to be sure, you understand kind of the basics of, you know, someone from Alexander Graham Bell's time could be shown how to press the touch screen of an iPhone and learn how to do simple operating features of it, but he wouldn't understand how it was made or how it works. That's kind of the situation you're in right now.
I would imagine that for his nightly school studies, he's occupied about a dozen pages of theory and scope and trying to explore and trying to understand that without having come to a conclusion, and just sort of midway through a sentence just sort of writing a big question mark, which he falls asleep on.
Think you wake up with it backwards on your cheek.
He's got a hook on his cheek now.
All right. So I think Nedry occupies himself with that study until he falls asleep. Is anyone else doing anything before you, lay yourself down to rest? I mean, was Sequential going to look for the key right away if he didn't feel like he had to watch the door, or? Are you gonna
Yeah, I
rest
think
first?
so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Zaylene,
I think
are you joining him, or are you going to meditate first?
I'm going to meditate first.
Okay. All right. So Sequential.
Yeah, I
Getting up.
think I would start at the top,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the tippity top, and do a complete thorough.
Sure. Sure. Go ahead and make an investigation check. And just for context, we're assuming here that this is not a quick and dirty check. This is taking
Right.
time to try to be
Yeah.
thorough.
Exactly.
So let's get an investigation.
Investigation.
Nedry muttering in his sleep.
There is no top. There is no bottom. There aren't floors either.
Wow, 22. That's
22.
pretty good. So you definitely find amongst all the other smashed bits of furniture. I don't have a lot of fancy stuff shown on the map for this just because I didn't have art necessarily for it. But you find a lot of things that do seem to be various sorts of, tinkering tools and other sorts of things that would probably be used to make clockwork things. There is definitely a small chest that looks like it maybe had spell components that would have been more useful before it was smashed, mixing everything together. You think that there doesn't seem to be anything of real substantial value to be gleaned from that. But once again, that's a bit like you have found with some of the other rooms here, which it seems like whoever it was that left this tower in this state took the really valuable, expensive stuff with him for the most part, with them. You don't know. Leaving some things that were a little bit more mundane. So you find some sign of like spell components and other sort of arcane pieces and that sort of thing. There was the display and what looks like maybe a couple of other like spare parts for this Maxim Minimizer. Is that what I called it? Device. Did I actually give you guys the stats for that? I made it in D&D Beyond.
I don't
All right, let me.
think so.
I believe then let's. Because I believe you have it. Is that right?
Yeah, I was definitely the last to use it,
Mm-hmm.
and I did not put it anywhere in the inventory.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having to. Um, you know what? Maybe I don't have it. I thought I had made it, but I'm not seeing it in the list right now. So I will definitely do that in the future. But you have that, and that looks like that was kind of an ongoing project that was left in an incomplete state. But most other like main things seem to have been left behind. But here's the thing that you notice that I think is perhaps a bit more meaningful to you is that you do actually find a few things that you recognize as being various types of tinkering or machinist's tools that are smaller in size.
Hmm.
And the more you look around, you do peer so you probably don't squint. What does your face do? Do you have like a little eyes zooming in animation or
Right?
something
Yeah, I
like
think they
that?
probably spin.
Yeah, so you sort of peer down and look, and you see what looks very much like an adjustable crescent wrench the size of a grain of rice.
Ah.
And you realize it's possible that there are other things in here that you can't see because they are too small.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. And so presumably the key could be shrinky drinked,
It's possible.
shrinky drinked,
You
shrinky
have,
dinked.
yes, you have thoroughly checked this room to the point where if it were a size that you would be able to, like, to hold in your hand, you
Mm-hmm.
would have found it. You're confident that it is not here and just rolled into a corner or sitting under something.
Okay.
But you do come to the conclusion that there may be things in here that are just difficult to find because they're smaller than you would expect.
Cool.
All right. Zinhorn, did you just kind of settle in by the fire? Or there's a fireplace anyway, and there's a couple of fancy stuffed chairs. You'd mentioned last time kind of nesting with Buster, but I don't know. I would have thought that one of those big fancy chairs seems like the spot for that, but you tell me.
Yeah, I can set the chairs up and make a little nest, maybe get a fire going.
Do you try to start a fire?
Yeah.
Okay. There is firewood there. I think one of the things that you notice is that there is like a bit of a flue, or rather, there's the hole like where smoke from a fire would go, but it does seem to just be like closed. Like you can reach up there and you can just feel it. Like there's no door or flap or anything to open. And you recall from the outside you didn't see a chimney or anything, but it's also like there's obviously a fireplace here and there's firewood here.
I'm gonna give it a try, but I'm gonna make sure that we've got some way of putting out the fire.
Sure. What would that way be?
A bucket of water.
Okay, yeah. You've certainly established that you have running water from the sink upstairs. There's even a bucket up there. So you go and do that, and you get a fire started there in the fireplace. And sure enough, the smoke does just seem to go up into somewhere. It doesn't flood into the room.
Okay.
It's not obvious what's
Um,
happening exactly, but it seems to be working as intended.
all right. I'm gonna uh, give it a minute and then just walk up and peer into all of the rooms to make sure that somebody's not getting smoked out somewhere else.
Okay. No, no one is. So when you go up to the bedroom, do you knock?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Two drunk dark elves giggling. Yeah.
Well, so I think let's check in then on on Lynn and on Zaylene, had you been trying to get some sleep there?
I think Lynn has fallen asleep talking about their favorite subject, like their hobby, their pastime.
Just realized I've got in wrong positions there. So you're just what, doing like drunk hotel room talk? Is that what's
Probably,
happening
yeah.
here? Yeah.
Mhm.
This is 2 a.m. on Saturday night at the con. Everyone's kind of stumbled back into the hotel room.
And being like, my mouth is really dry. I wish I had a drink.
All right. So in any case, after a little bit, knock, knock, knock. I mean, you guys don't have to role play the scene. I'm just saying, Zinhorn is knocking on the door.
I'm
Probably
meditating,
like half
so-
asleep, still murmuring.
Yeah.
You all right in there?
Yeah.
No smoke?
No.
Oh, good. All right. Good night. See you in the morning.
Okay. I look around for smoke after he leaves. Like, why is there smoke? Is there smoke?
You don't see any smoke.
Huh. All right, I go back to meditate.
All right. I think you do notice when you're poking around on the second floor, Zinhorn, that there is a stove in that kitchen portion, and there are a couple of things that seem designed to be like little Bunsen burner type of tools in the alchemy lab, but those also don't have any obvious place for the smoke to go, and yet they're clearly here. They seem to have seen use, so there's obviously something enchanted happening.
Okay. I will mark it down as a mystery. Where does the smoke go? And kind of tear it out and tear out the page and stick it on top of Nedry's book while he's sleeping.
All right. So with the fire started, and apparently no smoke going anywhere else, you just kind of settle in for the night. I think it is probably pretty late by this time. I'm asking, are you settling in? I'm not telling you.
Oh, yes, I am settling in.
Okay,
I just
all
said
right,
I was
yeah.
settling in.
All right, good.
I thought I
So-
said I was settling in.
Well, now we've established it for sure. So, all right. So Sequential spent a little time looking around that workshop. Would you have done anything else before you find a place to stand and stare at the wall, or what?
Yeah, I'll go ahead into rest mode. This is as good a place as any.
Okay.
So let's prop up against the box across from the door.
All right. And so I think that kind of accounts for everybody, at least for a while. Zaylene, I think by the time you finish your meditation, it seems like the tower is quiet. Nobody else is really doing anything right now.
Okay. I will quietly leave the room
Make stealth
and okay.
check.
At disadvantage because I'm drunk.
Are you still?
No, probably not. Hello?
Oh, that's pretty good. We get one of those briefly interrupted snores from Carolina as you creak open the door. There's like, huh? Actually, I don't want to tell Starla if Carolina snores or how, but I'm just going for the cartoon reference is all.
Well, she was snoring that one time. I think the last time
Only
we
when
went
I
out,
drink. Only when I
Yeah.
drink.
that was when it was.
So now then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So where do you are you just gonna check on everybody or? What's
Yeah,
the
I'm
plan?
gonna walk around and see if anybody else is awake.
Okay.
Check on everybody, make sure everything is still the same size, and
Yeah.
make sure everybody's still here.
I think as you as you check on the first floor, I think you see, Nedry once again asleep face down on his book. Xenorn and Buster are kind of cozied up in one of the big chairs by the fire, which has started to burn low by this point. You see Buster is kind of lovingly, idly chewing through one of the straps on his armor.
Oh dear. I will come back to Buster
Okay.
because I'm how long does sequential need to rest?
I gotta double check. I
think
can't remember if it's a
still
full 8 hours, but it's definitely more than 4.
Yeah, I think it is 8 hours, but the key
just not
is that
sleeping.
as long as you don't move, you are aware. So like you can
Right.
point yourself at a door and be immediately awake if someone were to open it, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, no, I just wanted to know that me as a player because if I know that, then I won't bother him
Yeah.
either.
But I think a normal long rest, even for like a human character, still basically it only includes. I think it says something like 6 hours of like real, honest to goodness, unconscious sleep, and 2 of those hours can be like light activity.
Okay.
Yeah. So nonetheless, if you open the door, Sequential would certainly see you do that, and whether he responds or not is up to him.
I will just look at it and then move along.
Do you have like a suspend mode lighting change Sequential, or do you look the same, or because it could be a little bit creepy if you really look no different. You look like you're
Right?
just staring.
Yeah. I don't think there would be any change whatsoever.
Are they dead? Oh no. Can they die? Okay, so then I'm gonna go up to the kitchen area because we saw some food in there that was you said that was still looked like it was good.
Yep.
I'm going to take is there fruit or anything like that?
Yep. There's it's not a lot of variety, but there's some like simple produce. There's like apples and let's say mangoes, because why not? And I think there's various, let's say, like beets and potatoes and onions as well.
Okay, I'm gonna take an apple
All right.
and use one of my daggers and cut it into quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to go back down and give one of them to Buster because it's going to be pretty big for him.
Yeah.
And let him munch on that.
I think he sniffs around at it. He looking at you a little bit suspiciously. He hasn't taken a bite.
I'll take a bite of one or the other.
He leans down and takes just a little bit of a bite. You get a grudging sense of like, well, I'll eat it, but I want you to know that what you've given me here is not good. But I'll eat it. Don't take it away. I'm going to eat it.
Okay.
But do better next time.
All right. And then I will start looking. I'm going to look upstairs
Okay.
for the key, like on the 4th floor in
All
the
right.
lab area.
Okay. Here's a question, Sequential. When you were doing your investigation, would you have been tidying up, or are you just kind of leaving everything in disarray once you've checked it?
Huh. Um, yeah. I mean, I suppose they would make kind of stacks of things just to make it easier to see other things,
Mm-hmm.
but not especially tidying up. No.
Because I've definitely seen people look for things in cluttered places where they will like pick up a hamburger wrapper off of the counter to see what's under it, and then put the wrapper back down in that spot on the counter.
Yeah,
That sort of
probably.
thing, right? Like it's so so as opposed to tidying while looking, and so I
Right.
guess that's the answer determines what Zaleen is seeing as she
Yeah.
checks in.
Probably wouldn't really be tidying. No.
Okay. So yeah, I think Zaleen, you would have seen some signs of activity in here. Some things have been moved around a little bit, but it's mostly still pretty messy.
Okay, so well, I don't think I did. I go in that room
I mean, maybe
before.
not a lot. This was the room that you may recall you had your giant halfling in
Oh, that's
before
right.
you were
That's
able to
right.
bring him back down. And there wasn't really a lot else to do in there because everything was kind of crushed against the walls and smashed.
Okay. Then, if it looks like sequential was already in there, maybe looking around, I will go down to the kitchen and the alchemy lab area and
All
look.
right. Okay. Go ahead and make an investigation check down there. Are you looking for the key, or are you just kind of just trying to see what else there is to see?
I'm looking for the key.
Okay. So
15.
15, like you kind of do an inventory of all of the stuff. Everything here is like there's a lot of it without a ton of room, so things are a little bit like I don't want to say cluttered, but there's just like not a lot of empty space for things, right? You know, but everything seems to be kind of in a spot placed there deliberately as opposed to piles of random things. And you go through and you don't really see anything. So please remind me, I believe Mark, like did I tell you what the key looked like? I'm trying to remember what information you all had.
I'll see what I have in my notes, but I do believe you described it as a kind of an orb of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a round, big round rock
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Let's just see if I have any more details, but that comes right to mind.
Yeah,
at least.
so that's basically what I recalled as well. And so we'll say that Nedry shared that with everybody, that you're looking for kind of like a fancy orb of some kind. And I think you, looking through Zaleen, you certainly find lots of things that seem to belong to, you know, a relatively well-stocked alchemy lab and a kitchen with, you know, nothing extremely elaborate or exotic in terms of spices, but, you know, the basics. You know, got your oregano flakes and, you know, garlic powder, that sort of thing.
Pumpkin spice. Yep.
Pumpkin spice. Yeah, just got it in a little jar, a shaker.
Yep.
Um, yeah, but you don't find anything like what Nedry described.
Okay. Um, I want to look elsewhere, but I know like everybody else is like sleeping in the other room, so I don't So I will go back up to the fourth floor
Mhm.
and start organizing
Okay.
and cleaning up a little bit and see if that helps, if I can find anything while I'm like tidying up.
Sure, sure. So go ahead and make an investigation check up there too for while you're tidying.
I like how you're avoiding all the other rooms because people are sleeping, and then you go up and start vacuuming around sequential.
Ask him while
what-
he's in his power save mode. Can you move your foot? Bonk, bonk. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks. All right. Yeah. So
14.
what I'll say is I'll let you decide what conclusions Saline would draw about it. But I do think that as you're organizing things and you're trying to separate out what clearly just seems like splinters of a broken table versus this maybe was a tool versus this looks like maybe it was a spare part of something, you're trying to just sort those things. And you do also find, as Sequential did, that there are some things that seem somewhat recognizable, but smaller, smaller versions of them. And so, you know, I'll let you draw your own conclusions about that, but you do find some of those as you're sorting. And those are harder to sort, especially because, you know, some of them are small enough they might just be in like the fibers of this rug and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we need at least 2 people to do this, knowing that things might be smaller, so we could have somebody shrunken and have a big person carry them so that they can look. So knowing that, I will just go back to the bedroom and just meditate some more.
Sure. Yeah. There's also books and stuff downstairs.
Oh, okay, that's right. I forgot there were books. Are there any interesting books? Books that?
Yeah, so I think as I had mentioned with when Nedry searched it, you see a lot of stuff that look like the sort of really basic books that any wizard, you know, it's like, you know, when a wizard is buying their first starter tower, there's the set of books that you buy all at once that, you know, like, you know, get your bookshelves started, you know, with these this selection. It's the, you know, Spellbook of the Month Club setup. So there's a lot of the really basic variety there. There doesn't seem to be anything really elaborate or fancy, but there's a handful of other things. You tell me what sort of like just random subject you find a book in that you spend a few hours with.
I'd like to read books about like the planes of existence.
Okay.
So if there's anything like that, I would probably pick that up and take that upstairs and read.
Sure. Yeah, I think you find one that has a couple of chapters on that, and it talks mostly about the basics of, you know, there's the prime material plane, and it has its own sort of positive and negative reflections that are colloquially known as the Feywild and the Shadowfell. And then there's the outer planes and the elemental planes that are all kind of like, everyone has these really fancy like schematic map looking things that, you know, always have the little disclaimer of saying artist's rendition, probably doesn't actually look like this, that sort of thing. But then again, you know, at the same time, there's also, you know, there are you know, reports, people who have visited many of those planes talking about what's there, but it's just kind of, that's the basic structure, and it talks about like some of the, you know, some of the ones that you might actually go to, and there would be actually safe, friendly places that you could go there, versus the ones where it's like, yeah, if you're there at all, you made a wrong turn because you don't want to be there at all. There's a few like that.
Okay. Yeah, and then that's what I would spend the rest of my time doing until somebody else got up.
All right. Well, so I think everyone then is able to get a long rest in. You ended up going to sleep relatively late, so as you would be waking up, once again, some of these floors have windows that have just sort of a strange, like, distorted effect. Like, you can't really see out properly, but there does seem to be a change in the amount of light coming through. So I think perhaps as those of you who are in rooms with windows start to kind of blink awake, you see that there seems to be more light coming in through those strange windows than there was before. And it would probably be, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 a.m.
All right. Well,
I feel like Nedry kind of wakes up with half sentence and starts scribbling madly, but it's not really making any sense yet. Neither is he, at least for a while.
Zinhorn, I think that you have you wake up to a strange sort of like pressure on your cheek, and you look up, and apparently like one of your sort of like little scaly bits on your chin is currently a chew toy for Buster.
Ow.
Just I think it's probably not something you have like a lot of feel in. It's just a little scaly bit, but.
Mm. All right. I roll over and pick him up and hold him up.
Your armor flops a little bit because one of the straps is broken. It's easily fixable. It's not something mechanically you have to deal with, but you definitely see that there is one of the little leather cords that holds pieces together has been mysteriously chewed through.
Who's gonna need a chew toy? Who's gonna need a chew? You're gonna need a chew toy. Yes.
I'm sorry, Mark. I think I kind of talked over what you were saying.
No.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Nedry's coming awake with the backwards question mark on his cheek.
Yeah, he doesn't notice that.
All right.
Sequential would head down to the first floor, assuming that's where people are going to congregate. And Minchin had no luck finding the key, but it could be Shrinky Dink, so we're gonna maybe need a more than just the naked eye.
Well, technically, it's not shrinking. This place is fascinating. It's going to take a long time to figure it all out. It's not so much that things are shrinking, so much as we're going different places that just happen to also be the same place. It's kind of like the ethereal plane is actually mapped over the regular, normal material plane. But imagine that there's a lot of skins all layered over the same one. But in each one, you're different scales or something.
Huh.
It's only slightly theoretically possible, but I guess actually possible because we're standing in the middle of this place. But that makes me wonder, where did this tower come from? Who made it? Somebody
Yeah.
incredibly powerful made this tower. And then it was eaten by a pig. Maybe we can figure out where that pig actually was. We might find some other indication of where it came from.
Did
The
we
tower, not
show him the note that we found in the garbage?
I mean, I can't think of any reason you wouldn't, but I don't think we discussed it on stream or anything.
Yeah, we found a note in the garbage that said that they were putting the tower away to hide it.
Yeah, I think we were all together at the time. Well, except Zinhorn, he wasn't with us, but
Yeah.
But if we can find out exactly where they were, and maybe figure out why they hid it there. Maybe they hid it as small. I wonder if they can affect the outside dimensions as well as the inside dimensions. In any case, this place is really strange. Theoretically, well, there's a lot of things that are possible. If you aren't taking things out that don't therefore return back to the frame of the normal material plane, you could theoretically hide everything in here. Like they could actually still be here, living on an entirely small plane. Although probably not on a bigger plane. Although theoretically there's no maximum.
Yeah, the only limitation with going big is that you stop being able to fit through the hallways. Is all.
Right.
But otherwise the math theoretically like you could theoretically keep going that way. It's just a physical limitation at that point.
But if they were going to hide something here, they would do it at a smaller scale. So it's probably how we need to look around. If we want to take some time to look around, I know we should probably get going, and we're going to need supplies and all that stuff. I really want to see Emersham too. There's too many things to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the number one is, supplies to get to Emersham.
Well, what if two people who can change their appearance go into town to get supplies? The rest of us stay here. We can look for the key.
so I think about this time. This is when Lynn walks in, Carolina, but and I have made a basic oatmeal with some brown sugar and some cinnamon and maybe a few apples in there, and I have like a tray with some bowls in it if anybody wants some.
Nice.
And maybe there was some beef jerky or something like that, and I could toss a piece to Buster.
was thinking beef jerky and oatmeal. You've just created a whole new meal.
Yep.
Not for me.
There are savory oatmeals. That's a thing that people do.
Yeah.
No milk left in your oatmeal because the beef jerky sucked it all in. Milk jerky.
So I have some news. I'm passing out bowls of oatmeal. Have some news. Last night, after this informant met with Evan, I followed them. Zaylene didn't know. I was invisible, couldn't really tell her. So I just kind of wandered off, but I wandered after him and I didn't get caught. Nobody saw me. But this guy was wearing, he ducked into an alley and took off his cloak, and he was definitely wearing armor with the Emperor's crest on it. And they kept referring to a friend of the Emperor, like it was some kind of title almost. But there were a lot of references to that. So the one guy, the informant, who turned out to be some kind of guard, found a group of others and said, oh, this was a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. And they talked about, friend of the Emperor without really saying much. But then they took off to this, it was just past the stables, but it was kind of like a storage area for other things. And they had this would I know what this kind of ship was called?
Let's just say, let's call it an elemental skiff, because it had this arcane energy hoop sort of thing over it.
Have any of you ever seen an elemental skiff before? It's one of those really small boats, and then it's got this circle of arcane energy that goes around, and then it's small, so it only seats like 6 people.
That
I
sounds
don't think so.
familiar. I think
Are
I've
they-
seen small
They're-
craft like that fly over the city.
Yeah, they're rare, but they're
Yeah.
not unheard of, and they're expensive.
Right. Yeah. So if you recall, the sort of comparison that I gave to our real world is like, you've seen and heard about Black Hawk helicopters, but it's still notable to see one in a Walmart parking lot.
Mhm.
That's
So they all got in this elemental skiff and shot up and out and toward Pishon, correct? Towards the
well,
south.
I mean, in the vague direction
Southeast?
of, well, yeah, it wasn't like directly towards Pishon. The other thing is that that usually you wouldn't go a long way in one of those. Those are like,
Right. They're short range craft, so they didn't go too far, but far enough.
Don't they also race those?
yes,
Only in the desert.
Those are like rich kid toys for racing. Like really rare and expensive and super fast.
Well, if they were working for the Emperor has no depth in his pockets, or something like that.
One question. I believe that I had people with history proficiency roll for recognizing friend of the Emperor before. Was there anyone who wasn't present for that has history? Or no?
I remember I rolled for that,
proficient.
but I don't really have, I've got the +1
I
because I've
think
got.
you all
Yeah.
heard
everything.
that bit of it. So, like, I don't think there was anyone who didn't get a chance. Who?
I know I rolled really bad on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I-
remember
I-
if I rolled
Yeah. So if I recall, the best anybody got was essentially just the information of they're definitely saying it like it's a thing, but it seems like an odd sort of turn of phrase. Like, it doesn't seem like a casual thing to say. It seems like it must mean something, but you don't recognize
It
it.
carries weight.
We should ask Yobert.
Well, I mean, according to his message, we have to be really careful about what we, send him. But so also I was having some other thoughts. And it didn't occur to me last night, but it occurs to me now. He said that people are almost certainly scrying on us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if maybe I should not change so drastically for a while. Because we never know when someone's watching. I mean, they could be watching right now.
Well,
I have a
they
feeling
can't
that
watch all the time, can they?
no, and there's
Not that I
probably
know of.
it's a considerable amount of magic unless you have a particular, vessel for it. And I suppose they could theoretically take shifts, but that doesn't make much sense. They're not that important. Although I'm not entirely certain of the extent of the power of this tower, but being within a multi-layered extra-dimensional space might prevent some level of scrying. It certainly would confuse a lot of things. It's not a guarantee. But I'm confused. I don't think the adversary is working for the Emperor.
Well,
What
we
happened back
already
at the
know they
administration?
can change their appearance to look like anybody. So it's entirely possible that the person that took down that building in Pishan and the one that's been threatening us is the same person as this friend of the Emperor. I mean, maybe the Emperor doesn't know. They could pose as anybody.
Maybe.
I have a hard time believing that they could walk off with one of those little ships and nobody would notice, because you would have to like tell all the guys on that ship, "Oh, I'm the friend of the Emperor. You need to listen to me, and not
Well-
from this moment forward, you can't talk to anyone else."
I don't think the friend was there, just the contact. I thought maybe Nelson was another name for the adversary, but it sounds like just this guard fellow.
Yeah.
And he went off with other guards on this skiff. So
Um,
I think that they either had to report back to whoever they were working for, or maybe did it through magical means.
I'll
think
just clarify
Evan said
that.
that-
Yeah, Evan did say that from what he understood, Nelson was the friend of the Emperor. But he never met that person. He was only
Oh,
contacted
okay.
magically.
Okay. I thought
And
Nelson.
he was sending a contact to pick up his notes.
My mistake.
So, but I had another thought. So all of this time we've been, planning to go to Emmership, and if they know what ship we were on, that's where they would expect us to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was thinking that since we got off of that ship, we have to walk anyway. We had been talking about going back to where Sequential was from, which I don't think was. It was sort of north of Emersham.
Here,
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, in
I
the Barrier
will
Mountains.
Put you on the map. How about that? We can talk about it. So, here is our continent map. You are currently here just outside of Gorn, and Emersham is several days walk to the southeast here near the coast. The Barrier Mountains are this range that is north of Emersham, and that I think the area that Sequential knows that his master's workshop was from is probably in like the southern third of that range. So it's not altogether a different direction, but the distinction is that there's a road that goes straight to Emersham, like a large main road, whereas the travel would be less, a little bit more overland to go to there. Like there are some roads, they're just less well traveled and that sort of thing.
And I was thinking, given who we have with us now, kind of motion to Buster, maybe it's better to travel, less well-traveled roads.
Yeah, there's
And they
definitely
wouldn't
merit to
expect us
that.
to go there. It was just a thought. If we don't want to do it, that's fine. It was just they wouldn't be expecting it.
I know I
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Because then we could just cut down south to Emersham after that, depending on what, if anything, we find.
I think you would know, sequential, that once you get into the mountains, if you were to go underground to where like the dwarves have all of their stuff, there is actually going to be tunnels that would give you a much more direct route to Emersham. Like once you get into the dwarven tunnels, you can go pretty much straight there. But until you get down into the dwarven network of stuff, it's going to be a lot of mostly just overland stuff. It depends. So you have a couple of choices, because you could take a more sophisticated route to one of the big like dwarven gates, but that's not where the workshop is, right? And so it depends. That's if you're wanting a quick and easy travel, that's would be the way to go. But you could potentially minimize the amount of time that you're just walking over hills and stuff, if you were to do that. But of course, you attract more attention that way too. So it's a question of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, I get the idea of trying to confuse the adversary, but I don't know what we'd be looking for at the lab. Do you think that you left anything behind, Sequential?
Well, there's tons of things were left behind, but
But
For
anything you
me-
might need or that you would find out.
We have new
I
contacts
guess-
for stuff, right?
yeah, exactly. I think that's the thought, is that things may be in a new light, be seen in a new light now that we have more information. It is possible that Grey Gome has returned as well.
One thing that just occurs to me, because I'm not sure it's happened on camera, so to speak. Sequential, have you showed Nedry the cipher and the coincidence of the journal you found at the mansion?
I would imagine I would have.
It's never really come up, but
I think there was like very early on, he asked you if you recognized it or something like that, but that was probably before you found the journal at the mansion and saw similarities. But
Yeah,
it occurred to me, I wasn't sure if you had talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know I mentioned that they looked the same when we had found that manuscript. So
but I think since
um,
then you've studied it and actually started to understand it a bit more.
yeah,
Haven't really had the occasion to talk too much about it, but you can certainly mention it now.
yeah. So yeah, that is another big important thing, is that there may be more more clues that match this cipher and this script. There's clearly a connection. It can't be a coincidence. And there may be more materials there.
I am rather curious about where you've come from and how you were made. I don't understand any of the mechanical stuff. My parents would, but not me. But what do you... I'm wondering what Gregholm found then. Maybe he also knows Dinotherian magic.
Yeah, that's what it's sort of leading towards, possibly.
Maybe you're Dinotherian magic. That's why you understand all these things so well.
Well, maybe I do. I was going to say, I'll remind all of you that when you experienced that sort of Dinotherian, like, children's book, when there were the depictions of, like, the advances and excesses of the Dinotherian society, there were things there that looked a bit like Sequential.
So it sounds like that's a pretty good idea to redirect there and maybe stay off the map for a little while.
Although, I don't know how we're supposed to get across that. I wasn't exactly prepared to walk down a road, but I have no idea how to climb a mountain.
Well, don't think there's roads, paths at least.
Yeah, there's not much climbing involved. It's more foothills
Oh, good.
where the workshop is.
So I think
Yeah,
we're
I don't
agreed.
know. Should we try to acquire horses or a wagon, or are we just gonna walk, or?
Are we going to feed the horses to Buster?
No.
Oh yeah, yeah, that probably wouldn't go very well.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could rig up a harness if you think Buster will pull a wagon.
I think I need a book on like training an
How to
animal.
train your gray render?
I would say, like, you guys, like, I've said the words gray render. You all
Yeah.
don't know what it is.
How to train your
Yeah.
Buster. If he
And,
can be trained.
I think
Oh,
He
ooh.
seems
be
pretty
trained.
smart. I mean,
I
He's very
see.
smart.
all things
You
considered.
chewed through your armor strap here, huh? By the way, I can do a little mending.
Oh,
Cantrip.
thank you. Yeah. I think. I mean,
And
like,
we
he's
need to
gonna
come up with
con-
something to have him in public. I don't know if there's something in town we can buy, but going to the workshop's one thing, but eventually we're going to come across other people.
I mean, on the one hand,
Yeah.
there's something rather helpful about the fact that probably no one's ever seen one before, which means that it's just a weird creature. And there are a lot of those out there.
Right.
I
but
think
he's
it's more
gotta
likely to
be-
cause panic than curiosity.
He's got to
Most
be
people are not like
behaved,
you, Nedry.
you
Yeah.
know.
Adam, like curiously enough, my thought, I think Buster is really cool, but I find myself wondering like what the end goal with him is. I mean, are we just going to keep him forever, or do you have a thought on what you want to do with him or for
I'm
him?
hoping to train him so that, he could be in the city or be with us and behave.
But
At the very least, he's one of the few connections that we have between Zindhorn and where his parents are still at. That song.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like, what are your thoughts, for Buster in the future? I mean, I can't imagine that you would want to, just keep him as a pet. He came from somewhere, and he has that connection to you because you seem to know where he came from. I mean,
Yeah,
do you want to help him get home?
I mean, if we can help him get home, that would be the thing to do. If there's a place where there's more creatures like him, that he would be happy there. I mean, for all we know that they're solitary creatures, and he's latched on to me. We need to find out more. We need to find out like what he is and
Yeah.
see
I mean-
if I can train him.
The fact that he latched onto you suggests that he's either very young or that they're not solitary creatures.
Well, I mean, he was like the size of a dog, and then 2 weeks later, he's the size he is now. So he probably is very young.
But time also passes very differently where Zinhorn was, so he could be hundreds of years old.
He might have also just come into existence.
Hmm.
Sometimes
Oh,
beings do
me,
that.
the baby.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we need to try and find out.
I'm also wondering if I can figure out a safe way to do so, if I'm able to understand more about where he came from. I was reading something about, extraplanar resonances. Let's call it that. It's the simpler term for it. I don't have time for the full debate and discussion. It's a big deal right now. Anyway, it may be possible to use Buster like, kind of like a compass. If he actually comes from wherever you were, then in time I might be able to figure out how I can use what's left of there in him to find out where that is.
Like a tuning
Maybe-
fork.
I suppose. but that's kind of theoretical and a little bit above me. I started reading some of it, but I sort of ended up with more margin notes than actual notes.
Mhm.
Well, it sounds like to me what we need is some kind of expert on kind of look at him sideways animals or
I think as you glance over,
monster?
he's currently making his way through the wooden leg of one of the chairs at this table. Just kind of like clawing at it and chewing at it.
We're going to
I,
make
I don't I don't want to use the word monster, but I don't know what else to call him,
Right.
how to classify him.
aberration,
Mustard.
possibly, or even potentially fey.
If we wanted to go a complete opposite direction, though, it is very civilized. There's the great library in Villanocta that will have information about lots of things, but that's roads and civilization, and
Lots of
Yeah.
people.
I think it does make more sense to go to the mountains first.
What
My only
about-
worry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, we worry about taking Buster in public. What if, while we're traveling, we figure out a way that we could put Buster in the backpack when we have to go someplace that he can't go?
He may or may not fit and may destroy the inside of it.
Well, I mean,
What if he goes in your bag, Nedry?
that's what I mean.
Well, that might be even more dangerous. He's got really big claws and very, very big teeth. And if
We
he were
have
to
to-
tear a hole in the side of the bag, bad things would likely happen. Not to mention that he might decide that anything in the bag is edible.
What if he liked it in there? I mean, we won't know unless we take him in there.
Yeah, but you're also subjecting him to he'd be under the influence of the Tanglefoot, which
Yeah.
might not be good for him.
Yeah.
And then maybe he'll
I
eat
think Zenhorn
Tanglefoot,
would have
which
to be
would
in there
solve
with
several
him.
problems.
Yeah, but we wouldn't get the answers that we need.
Yeah, there's another possibility, and like I really don't want to leave him alone, but it's possible that we could like leave him in a place like an area of the woods that's got a bunch of wildlife for a while, and then come back and get him.
What if
Or-
we
But that
shrink
song.
him again and put him in like maybe we can build a very small cage?
Well, it's hard to shrink things permanently.
Well, but
But-
if he stays in here.
But we have to figure out how to open and close the door before we can get that to work, because as soon as we leave, it kicks everything out.
Yeah. But what about that song? I
Does
don't
it?
understand how that magic works, but he did seem to respond to it. Maybe that's your way of talking to him or getting him to follow what you need to do.
Maybe, but I would like to get a book on animal training in general. Like even if it's dog training or bear training or something, and start with that. I was kind of thinking like, if I could train him, maybe we could like get him to wear, a big hooded cloak kind of thing with a backpack. And,
That
and just,
wouldn't be suspicious at all.
He's the Dread Pirate Roberts, you mean?
There's something you're forgetting, though. We don't know if this is as big as he's going to get.
Yeah.
Well, that's
it could
the
be
other
twice
thing.
this size next week.
If he gets to be twice this size next week, then all
mean-
of that is off.
I
We
think
already
everyone
saw what-
looks at guinea pig sized Buster to try to say, is this the same size as he was yesterday when he was guinea pig sized?
Yeah, he was rat size yesterday. Now he's guinea pig size.
Maybe Sequential can figure out how to fix the shrinky, growy thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I mean,
I
that
can-
would work too. We could shrink him down outside the house and, carry him around in a pocket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he might put up with being carried by me. And
I
that's-
don't know if the pocket would survive.
And kind of point out the
We
repaired
would have to
strap.
reinforce it with.
Sequential, I think one thing that does occur to you on that last subject is that if you were going to repair that device, you'd probably need a lot of fancy instruments and tools and equipment and components that of the type that you know where you can find a bunch of that stuff.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think as you start,
That's another
thinking
really
about-
good reason to go to the workshop.
Mhm.
I could probably repair this there
Yeah.
at the workshop in the mountains. There's, yeah.
The only thing I
Also-
worry about if we don't go to Emersham, if the adversary didn't know what we were looking for, but knew we were looking in Emersham for it, they'll be in Emersham for a lot longer than we will to look for it. And if they did know what we were looking for, they could be laying a trap for far longer. Although I
What
guess
we're
we're going to be
looking for.
walking anyway. Well, the history.
I don't think that's why they're after us, though.
There's still that temple
it
there.
doesn't
for example,
seem-
and-
So one of the things that they said is those guards, they were discussing, if these guys are so important, why don't we just arrest them? But it didn't seem like that's what they wanted to do. They were more interested in following us,
I'm still
getting
not convinced
information
there
about
aren't-
us.
There are two groups involved. After all, I don't think that the one who questioned us initially at the administration building was working with the adversary, but that her assistant was replaced by him.
Mhm.
So there may be two groups trying to work, and both are poised on us.
More motivation to not get caught. But I think I agree with you that it does seem like there's two groups involved.
My only thought about Lynn's suggestion is that if they're scrying on us, they're going to find out pretty quickly that we're not going to Emersham, and they're going to cut us off at the pass, especially if they have a fancy helicopter thing.
Not necessarily. I mean, they can't get there like instantly. I don't think.
I mean, they could
I don't even
teleport
know.
if they
I don't
know
even know who
mages.
Yeah, but like I said, it didn't seem like they were interested in capturing us so much as they were following us.
From what Scrying wouldn't really let them know where we are necessarily. If we're like in the woods, we're just in some random woods, right? It doesn't put a pinpoint on a map.
Right, unless they can recognize the landmark.
They have
or
to
something.
recognize the surroundings, yeah.
Which is another good reason to travel like uncommonly traveled
Mhm.
roads. Or no roads
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
So there would be roads.
I'll carry you on my back, Nitri.
I don't want to be a burden.
You're not.
I mean, you literally would be.
I know, but he doesn't know that.
I've been
So if we
working on
don't
some
want-
spells to make it easy.
If we
Yeah,
don't
it's
want to
gonna
make
get like one of those-
Wizard.
if we don't want to make a wagon harness for Buster, I could easily make a saddle.
I think trying to ride Buster would be harder.
We could probably make a 3-person saddle.
If he keeps growing like he was, we could probably make a 5-person saddle.
I think the first time that Buster saw a squirrel, the rest of the people riding would go away.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That'd be really
Or a deer.
reinforced.
So maybe let's just
Strap you
think of
down.
him as a bodyguard and potential pack mule sometimes.
Possible threat.
Yeah.
I don't think he would threaten you unless you threaten me. So as long as I don't get charmed again,
I think if you
we'll
turn
be
your back,
fine.
he's going to try to eat me.
I don't think so. I think he sees that you're my friend.
I'm only a bit taller than a partridge.
So are we not gonna have somebody who can change their appearance go into town?
Yeah, we definitely
So-
should. We
Yeah,
definitely
somebody
need
needs to
supplies.
go into town and get supplies. And I was thinking I could be the one to shrink down and go look for the key.
You have to stay with Buster though.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, he'll follow me.
If
And
we
as long
stay
as he
in
and I are at the same relative size, I think we'll be okay.
I think we might need somebody smaller than Buster size because some of those things could be lodged in like carpet fibers. And we might need somebody to go through the door twice and be really small so that we can look because it could be anywhere.
it's a little more complicated than that. As soon as we open the door, we all get out of the tower. And then we'd have to re-enter, but if the people who can open the door aren't in the tower, we can't get out.
So I'll clarify since I think your study gave you a little bit more information. So what you know is some of you could leave the tower without everybody leaving the tower. However,
Oh, okay. I
as
got the
long-
impression that basically we were opening it with a crowbar, so it was just flushing us all.
I mean, yes, in the sense that right now you are reliant on Carolina using the knock spell to open the door. But
Right.
with it open, you could have some people leave and other people stay. However, as long as there's anyone inside, it's going to stay full size. And
Right.
anyone who's currently at a different size, when they leave, will return to full size as soon as they step out. And so what you can't do is leave someone inside and then have the tower be small and carry it around. So as long as there's anyone inside, it'll stay big. But you could have some people leave and not others.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to work out the rules. It's a little confusing, especially when you take into account that there's a potentially infinite number of multi-sized layers all piled on top of each other. Theoretically, I'm also thinking you could possibly put something on one of those layers that doesn't appear in one of the others, but I'm not exactly sure how the mechanics work.
So as he's talking, Carolina becomes Nalira, the half elf with the little hair buns. All right, I suppose if we must. Which of you else wanted
Sequential
to go into
is
town?
gonna change their appearance too.
Yeah, as I was preparing, I can only hold it for an hour at a time. But, I can reapply it, so. Probably wouldn't change into, well, yeah, no, I can do it multiple hours. Yeah, it'll just take more magic. But nothing else is going to come up today, so
Just shoot him with the
it'll be
bread gun.
fine.
Well, if all else fails, I'll just turn you invisible.
True, yeah, I
But
can
then
do that
you'll have
for-
to make sure to stay close.
for an hour as well. Yeah. So yeah, I'll go ahead and disguise self to look like a completely different Warforged. No.
All you do is you change the color of your eyes. From
Red
purple
eyes.
to green.
Perhaps I could make some suggestions if you need some.
Sure.
Change the red eyes and put lipstick on.
Here's my hat.
Well, how about this? We could go into town and perhaps pass as brother and sister.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I could approximate that.
Or even twins if you really just want to go all out.
Let's see. I mean, honestly, twins probably easier because you're right there.
What about the clothes? Does that change too?
Yeah.
Well, if it's disguise self, that's what you're doing. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Then it's entirely illusory.
Yeah.
But you can change anything about you.
Adornment, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only danger is somebody swipes through, you're shorter than, you really are or something. Then
Yeah. Or like
it has to
they
be
reach out to
illusion.
touch your arm and it feels metal instead of like flesh. Like that would be alarming.
right.
Well, would a larger form be more helpful?
So no. This is great. No. So yeah, I can look pretty much similar and alter the clothes to not be complete identical twinsy.
The hair could be just a shade darker, or your
Yeah.
eyes a different color.
Just, yeah, a few differences to look like a sister, but not exactly like a twin, because I think that would draw more attention to being twins, complete twins. So yeah, sister form.
We'll get dates and stuff, and just it'd be a disaster.
Sister form, activate.
Hey, can you pretend like you get a henshin sequence for this? And
All right.
twirl, and your arm goes out, and then this arm, and then your other
So-
leg, and that leg.
We need food and a lot of it because Buster.
We
Yes.
can carry a lot between the two bags.
Yep. And we need like bedrolls and tents and
But don't we have like
There
I
might
have,
be stuff in the tower that
Oh,
we
that's
could
a
take
good
with us.
point. Yeah, we have the tower.
You have also observed Buster's capacity for doing his own hunting, but the downside of that is that you really have no control over him when he leaves your field of view.
With what Nedry's learned about the tower, do things that we leave in here persist? Are they safe in here, or are they?
It's basically a living creature keeps it big, but otherwise you could leave things in the tower.
Oh, that's good to know.
So if we stock the pantry, for example, it wouldn't just crush everything when it went small.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it would probably last because look at that food. I ate one of those apples last night and it was actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows how long it was in there?
Yeah, that's super handy.
Good.
So, what do we have in the way of money?
I still have like 500 gold,
Yeah.
I think. Let me look.
Oh yeah, well I have 100 and something.
Inventory.
I've got a few silver.
Oh no, I have
I
have
have-
30 platinum, so that's 300 gold, right?
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
platinum. Never mind.
And I have 95 gold, so I have 395.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that's
don't have notes
plenty
of
for
any
buying-
money in my inventory, so I don't.
Oh,
yeah.
because when we left, he gave us all money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gave us all 500. He gave us like 50 platinum.
Yeah.
And so, like, the thing is, you guys believe that if you're talking about, say, a week of overland travel for 5 people plus a Buster, you're somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 gold for that much, like,
Right on.
basic supplies. If you wanted to get anything more fancy than simple tents and bedrolls, then you start paying more. But the basics of it are not.
Yeah.
As long as you're getting mundane things like food, I mean that's stuff that people buy every day, so it's not super expensive.
We don't need to buy like bedrolls and stuff though, right? Because we're going to use the castle.
I mean, up
Most
to you
of the
guys
time.
what you want to do. I mean, I'm just
It's a
saying.
little bit noticeable.
Yeah.
I'd like a good bedroll and a tent just in case I have to sleep outside with Buster.
I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay.
In
Okay.
case of emergency, right?
Mhm.
Here's 1 platinum from me.
'Cause, I mean, if we're, and I don't know how. I've never been to inside dwarven passages, so I don't know like what the height is there. So I don't know how long we would be even traveling through those things. So the tower might not fit.
True.
Good point.
I think I have like a sleeping bag. I think. For bedroll. Maybe.
Inventory.
Maybe not. Nope, I don't. I thought I
I
had one
don't.
of those packs, but I don't.
Really need that or food or
Yeah, sequential doesn't eat or sleep, so.
or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a blanket.
Yeah. So I guess I need a bedroll and a tent.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The amount of
Tents
gold
and
I said
bedrolls?
was a little low now that I'm just kind of looking at some stuff, but I would say 50 gold would do you for everybody with all the food you need and all the supplies. And that's assuming you're buying things like backpack, bedrolls, and all of that stuff that you need and everything. Like if you were planning to skip a lot of the like the hard goods and only need the food because you're going to use the tower, that obviously is less. But if you need stuff like tents and bedrolls and everything.
Yeah, I think it would be
Yeah.
smart to have them available just in case.
So, for comparison,
Yeah.
the thing that I just looked up is that all of the stuff that comes in an explorer's pack, which is backpack, bedroll, meds kit, tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 days of rations, and a water skin, and 50 feet of rope, that is 10 gold for all that stuff.
Okay, so I mean, do we want rations or do we want?
Well, we have a kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
We should have some, and I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to need to replace what I've used because of
both.
Buster.
okay. So I will give 2 platinum to you guys.
Right on. Yeah, I didn't realize I had notated also. I had 30 platinum and 129 gold, so I've got 4 something.
Something. Okay. So,
Yeah. I've got 30 platinum and 100 gold.
Yeah, that's what Yobert gave us.
Okay.
Then that would be what I have too.
Yeah. Yep. We spent some somewhere because we all had 500 and then whatever you guys had from before. But yeah, so if everybody just pitches in, then we'll be good.
Mhm.
So there's my money.
All right. Well, sequential. Actually, you'll need a new name. Let's see. See, I'm Nalira, so let's see something that would go with that.
Delilah.
Sure, why not? What do you think?
Sure, that'll work.
Sidra hands you a list.
Delilah. Delilah.
Make a
Delilah.
performance check, sequential, because your voice is not affected by the spell.
Right. Performance -1.
Well,
Oh, a
fortunately for
3.
us, I'm
Yeah.
very good at talking.
Yeah, so I basically sequential gives his normal, slightly affected voice comes out of this delicate half elf form.
Maybe we can just say that you lost your ability to speak.
And come down with a cold.
Maybe we should give you a mask. Then nobody will talk to you.
I think you're even less convincing with a cold.
Nedry hands you a list and 70 gold.
I need some spell components. Simple things. Jade dust, gold dust, a little bit of silver wire. The normal things.
All right.
Okay. Consider it done.
I'll be right back.
All right, thank you. Be careful.
Well, shall we?
Let us away.
So you're approaching the outside door and preparing to cast the knock spell?
Correct.
All right.
Everybody might want to hold on to something if you're not leaving. Just in case.
So the spell when you cast it, you know, the sound resonates out through everywhere. It's pretty loud, especially the relatively close quarters you've got there. But the door does open. I'm assuming, Nedry, that you deactivated your, or you like, or you
I
opened
just
your
Unlocked
arcane
your lock.
I just suppressed it for 10 minutes
Okay,
because
yeah.
it stays up unless I don't have to dispel it.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to say, because otherwise knock would only get one of the two.
Mhm.
Um,
It just occurred to me too. Yeah.
yeah, but
Oh, then that means that when they come back, how will they get in?
Just knock on the door like
And
normal.
hope that
But
we
it
We can send a
also-
message.
A normal knock.
but because only Carolina can open the original one, that means that when she leaves the tower, the rest of you are stuck in there.
Yeah, we gotta find that key.
Hmm.
Yep.
I want to
Just-
shrink this time. I haven't been small yet.
When you're outside the tower, just send a message and I'll unlock the door.
One of the things, though, that does as you open the door and see outside, it is in fact raining quite heavily outside.
Oh.
Well, this is why we have cloaks, right?
Yeah.
You want to borrow my cloak of billowing?
Well, we better hurry because this door is not going to stay open for long.
So, I think let's first follow Sequential and Carolina a bit. As you are stepping out of the tower, seeing it in the light of day ish, but raining so hard, it's it's a little bit like things look different than they did last night when you were finding the spot to set up the tower. So let's get a perception check from one of you and a survival check from the other. You can decide who does which.
I have a +6 to perception, but only a +1 to survival. I don't know. That...
Yeah, mine's +4 and +1, so I'll do survival since we're even.
Oh, that was good.
Survive.
24
Okay.
for perception. 24.
Okay.
13.
I apologize for declaring this after you rolled, but was my intention that the heavy rain is making you roll perception with disadvantage, because everything is like partially, it's obscured.
15.
Okay. Yeah. Apologies for not saying that in advance. I know it feels a little bit like I waited to see what you were going to roll. And that is exactly what happened, but it's what I intended after all anyway. But in any case, you all are, what your survival check was 15? Is that what you said, Sequential? What did you say?
13.
13. Okay. Yeah, I think you're a little bit turned around, but you are able to kind of, figure out like, okay, yeah, no, okay, the town is back that way, and you are getting yourself oriented, but you're marching through what was already kind of saturated, slightly swampy, muddy terrain.
Mm-hmm.
That is now
Right.
deluged with heavy rain. It's and you're not like somewhere where there's a specific path or a road. So it's basically, I'm going to tell you, it's pretty miserable. But you don't get very far before you come across, there's a big standard deciduous tree that's kind of fallen over across the clearing that is in approximately the direction you want to go. You're looking around, it's raining very hard, and Carolina, you do spot just a little bit of a flicker of movement in one of the branches of one of the trees just ahead a little bit.
That looks a little suspicious. I don't know that we should go that way.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um,
There's something moving in the branches. This is just like a storybook type of ambush.
um, well, yeah, we can go around.
Let's see. So we would have to cross the clearing.
Well,
To
so
get to
right
town?
now, basically, you had been following what seems like the quickest way to get there, especially given that a lot of the parts of this swamp you'd be like wading through waist deep mud, which sounds like no fun at all. So you were kind of trying to follow the areas where it's a little bit higher ground, and that's why you had gone and sort of focused on this particular clearing, and that's the way you were going to go before you kind of spotted something that, like, you didn't get a good look at it, but you did see something move in the branches.
I wonder if I'm trying to decide if I have to like have gotten a lock on where this thing is.
I mean, like, you know where you saw a flash of movement, but as soon as it's the movement that caught your eye, and now that you're like looking, you don't see anything there. You just caught like, just the flash.
Yeah. Hmm. What if I'm trying to think if I can use enlarge reduce on it on the tree.
On the tree?
Like if I could shrink it.
Gosh, hang on. Is it?
I mean,
think
it only
it's-
lasts for a minute, but it says a creature or an object that I can see within range, which is I would have to be 30 feet from it, but
yeah, you are currently more than 30 feet from the tree where you saw that happen.
it might take anybody by surprise that was using it for cover.
Yeah.
And sequential, do you have any tricks up your sleeve?
Yeah, I've been looking. Not really. I mean, like fairy fire, I could light them up, but
Well, I mean,
I think just going around makes more sense.
it could be nothing. Maybe it was
Sure.
just a squirrel that I saw, and it's just a regular old fallen down tree, which just seems kind of suspicious, but it happens.
Sure. Sure does. We can just go through.
Because walking through waist deep mud does not sound like my idea of a fun time. Well, do you want to see what happens, or do you want to go around?
Yeah, we can just go through.
All right. We will go through.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, I will go ahead and put us on the map then.
The thing's so big it can be seen from space.
All right. So first of all, you're not all there. So let me remove the people that aren't present. So zoom out a bit here. So as you can see, you've got the big tree here, and the rainy sort of clearing. Is that all looks about right?
So in roll 20, I've still got the
Oh, you're right. Yes.
continent map.
Yep. One moment. Thank you. Yep. There you go. You should see it now.
There we go.
All right. So as you are, kind of proceeding, you will have to you once again, The tree looks like it fell over because it was rooted in an area that has become just like muddy and like it wasn't solid enough to hold the tree in place anymore. So once again, like you'll have to brave some of the deep mud, or you can climb over it, which would be relatively easily done, but obviously is not trivial.
Sure, gotcha.
I'm gonna go around.
Okay.
Okay.
Which way?
Um,
Around the
Sequential
root
can
side?
go over if he wants, but
No, yeah, I'm good to stand together.
1, 2, 3, 5. Is that right? One more. 30 feet. Yeah. So like, probably get to about here.
Yeah, and so I'd say it's basically difficult terrain until you get like back around to around here.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna proceed through that way?
Yeah,
Yep.
follow it around.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I have to do one thing. Okay. What is? Let's see. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So here's what happens. Sorry, you guys are doing it in a slightly different way than I was thinking. It's tactically interesting, so let's just go ahead and
I don't know if that's a good
Yeah.
or bad way to describe it.
yeah. Well, so I guess here's what I'm going to say is like, well, who's going first of the two of you? Or are you squishing through the mud that's like thigh deep?
I think
think I would
Sequential's
take the
probably
lead. I'm more-
stronger.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing, sequential, that you will have discovered is because you cast your disguise self on yourself inside, like you're obviously not getting wet or muddy.
Yeah.
At least visually, anyway.
Right.
So I'm sorry. Did you say who is going first?
Yeah, I think sequential would. I
Okay.
would.
All right. So as you are squishing through the mud right there, you once again, Lynn, just out of the corner of your eye, like you feel like you see some of the like the mud and the roots from this overturned tree. You see it. You think you see them shift a little bit in a way that doesn't seem like it would have been the wind, and it's close. It's like within 10 feet of you, and you catch just a shift. What would you be doing at that point?
I would pretend like I hadn't seen it, I think.
Okay. And so, are you saying anything, or I mean, if you're pretending you haven't seen it, then I guess not, right?
No.
All right. So you would be continuing on.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So basically, you would all, come back around from here, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do-do-do-do.
Yeah. This is where I'm gonna make some attack rolls. So let's see. That's a 23 to hit against you, sequential,
That'll hit.
and a 23 to hit against Lynn,
Jeez.
as crossbow bolts suddenly zip out of various hidden points in the woodlands here, and here's what happens. So sequential. Oh, that's wrong die. Sequential, you take 8 piercing damage, and please make a Constitution saving throw. This is poison, and so as a Warforged, you have advantage on this saving throw.
Advantage, yes, versus being poisoned.
This is gonna suck a lot.
It's a Constitution, right?
Yeah.
Roll. 19.
Okay, that's pretty good. Oh, correct. I said 8 piercing damage.
Yes.
It should actually be 12.
Okay.
Because during these creatures' first turn, they have any hit they score on a surprise creature is a critical. So 12 piercing damage, and you saved on the poison, so let's see. Ooh. Okay, so it would be 24 poison damage that you will take half of.
Okay.
So you're going to take 12 poison damage in addition to what you took with the piercing damage. All right, and Lynn, you're going to take 12 piercing damage.
Yeah.
And and then make a Constitution saving throw for me, please.
$19.
Okay, so you are also going to take half of this poison damage. You're going to take 22 poison damage.
What?
Yeah. And that's half.
What?
So you do now see the two beings that fired on you, revealed now by their attack, and we're going to roll initiative.
I have 11 hit points right now.
All
Ooh,
right.
boy. A roll for initiative. Right.
7.
Okay.
11.
Okay. Okay. So 7 for Carolina, and then 11 for sequential. Oops. Okay. Can't type. There we go. And let's put some good rainy music on. All right. As your okay, and then okay, so sorry, I could have rolled these in advance, but I wasn't 100% sure if you guys were going to do this, so. Okay, and then, whoa, they both rolled low there. Oh, that's fine, they got to go first anyway. So, what is your dex modifier, Lynn?
Dexterity. Where is it? It's a +3.
Okay, please roll one more d20 for me. Just a straight d20.
Oh, roll it. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Why is it doing this? Hold on. There we go. 14.
Okay. Means you go above that person. Okay, so sequential, you are up first. You have spotted as you suddenly are struck by a crossbow bolt. You look to where the direction it came from, and you see spotted. This is the one that fired on you, Sequential. Hiding in the branches of the trees over there, you see a halfling in a dark cloak, with wielding obviously a hand crossbow. Or a light crossbow, actually. Hang on. I believe it is a light crossbow, not a hand crossbow. Yes. To the extent that that matters to you.
Not
and then
a whole lot.
there's a female halfling that was the one that fired on you, but you also see a male halfling right here that
Cool.
fired on Lynn.
Alrighty then. I am going to. I'm gonna go ahead and cast. There's one action. Well, no, yeah, I think it's the best thing to do for now. I'm gonna cast Blur.
You are counterspelled
Ah,
by, and you suddenly see that Lynn, over behind you, back where you had seen some movement in the roots, you see a now visible half-orc who has just counterspelled Sequential's spell. Are you going to move at all?
yeah. If I could tell where it came from.
The counterspell?
Yeah.
Yeah, the counterspell came from
Orc.
behind you. I think you
Yeah.
probably have very poor line of sight in that direction, but you know
Okay.
approximately where.
But yeah, I think I would actually move that direction.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the guy that did it.
Yeah.
But it's difficult terrain going back in that direction now. So,
So let's see. 5, 10. Oh no, there's that. Well, now I'm stuck. 'Cause, yeah, I want to charge towards him, but I don't want to be behind Lynn. Because that's going to expose her more. Very torn.
Stay
I guess
close.
I will move there to be more
Stay
shielding. Well,
Sure.
no, then I can't see the dude, but he counterspelled. Yeah, fine. I'll go there.
all right. So you're
And
now out of
no
line of-
useful bonus actions.
Well, you know that, for example, he was only able to counterspell you because he could see you. So if you
Right.
broke in line of sight, he
True.
wouldn't be able to do it again. So that would make it your turn, Carolina.
Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is going to move right here and then grab Sequential, and I'm going to use Dimension Door. Which I don't know
Okay.
why I didn't do
Ooh.
this before.
All right. Okay. Here's the challenge for you.
Hmm.
With Dimension Door, you don't have to choose a location you can see. But if you don't, you're currently in a fairly dense jungle, swampy forest.
Hmm.
So there's a risk there. So you tell me where you would be trying to have your Dimension Door go.
As far away as I could possibly see, I
Okay.
think. Because I think the goal here is we need to just like book it out of here.
Would you be trying to book it back towards the tower or towards town? You're not that far away from the tower.
I think reinforcements are needed because
Okay.
like I'm hurting already. This is not good. And I think Buster could sniff them out pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
I think you are within you're within your range of, like, the tower is not within your line of sight, but you're not more than 500 feet away. So the
Right on the doorstep.
yeah, you could do that.
Let me in, let me in, let me in.
All right, so here's the question. Nedry, I don't think it's been quite 10 minutes since they left. But let's try to tease out whether or not your arcane lock would have been back activated or not.
I only suppress it for 1 minute.
1 minute? Okay. Well, they've been outside for longer than that. So I think here's the question then. The rest of you, when Lynn and Sequential left and headed into the rain, I think you were all prepared for them to be gone for a while and you were going to go do something else. So I think, oh, you know what? Yeah, you know what? It's true. It's true too. I was about to say, like, what do you? He couldn't have. Anyway, so I think you can use your action to appear on the doorstep with Sequential, but I think that's your turn. I think I would even, like, you can be at the door, and assuming you're not going to move away from the door, but you know, but that was your action.
Yeah. They'd like collapse against the door because, ouch.
Yeah. All right. I think then what you hear as after your turn, as we move on to the other turn, like, I don't have my map going back over there. I probably, in hindsight, should have had the tower on here, since that's an obvious place to retreat to. What you hear, I think, is no. Make both of you make a perception check to see if you would hear this at all.
21.
Okay.
17.
I think, Lynn, you just barely hear above the rain some shouted directions that sound like the enemies you left behind trying to figure out where you went.
Away from you.
I'm actually going to put us back off the map here because you're not technically on the map at the moment. But we're sticking in initiative though, and it's the three of them going. I'm going to say that your tower was 250 feet from the tree where the map picked up. So you now have your turn again, Sequential. Lynn has dimension doored you back to the door here.
Yeah. Oh, let me see the tower and knock, 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 knock. Wait, he said message and they'll let us. I don't message.
Gonna use all my spells on a retreat. This is great.
Well, so you're just trying to just pound on the door loud enough to
yeah, I
hear
mean,
it,
well,
or?
no, so yeah, I would knock on the door and then I suppose just in case, barring or getting ready for a fight, then I would go ahead and use my tool to create my force ballista.
Okay.
Not the standalone, but the one on my shoulder.
All right. Well, so what do you say about an athletics check to see how loud you can pound on the door?
Sure. Not very.
No?
That's a 4.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're finding that your feet, even though they look like pristine and adorable shoes that any respectable half-elf young lady might be proud of, Your actual metal feet under the illusion are covered with mud, and as you're trying to use your strength to pound on the door, your feet are actually kind of slipping around a little bit, and you're finding you're not able to get as much force on it as you would have hoped. And so I think with that roll, I'm not even gonna have anyone check to see if they hurt you.
Fair.
Okay. What about you, Carolina? That would be your turn next.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to use sending and hope all this weird, like, multi demi plane thing doesn't mess with it. So I'm going to send Nedry a message that says, please, please, please open the door. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's look up sending and the rules for if you are on a different plane of existence.
There's a 5% chance
That's not
the
too
message
bad.
doesn't arrive.
So please roll a d20 for me. If it's a 1, the message does not arrive.
Four.
Okay, see? Yeah, it goes through. Nedry, what would you have been doing approximately, let's say, like 6 or 7 minutes after they left?
Probably still talking.
No, he would have gone through the small door and then cast a spell when he got to the other side.
Okay.
Or sorry, go to the large door, I should say, to become small.
All right. So, but you're mini Nedry, but where? Because
Well,
you and Zaylene were gonna both go get small, right?
I think so. But he needs a bit more mobility, so as soon as he's gotten through the small door, he'll cast fly.
Well, so Zinhorn, what were you doing in the meantime? Well, you're muted right now.
I would have shrunken down along with Buster and gone haunting the carpet forest.
Okay,
looking
well,
for Locke.
so it sounds like everybody is small then, which makes it.
If everybody's shrinking down, I will not shrink down. I will stay
Okay.
big.
So Zaylene is
Aw.
acting as transport for.
Again, being responsible, even though she wanted to shrink.
Yeah. So once again, when you're small again, Nedry, you and Zinhorn are the same size as each other, but also Buster is now large again compared to you. But Zaylene is carrying you up all the way to the 4th floor because that's where you're going to check, right?
Well, no, I cast fly because I needed a bit more
Oh,
mobility.
okay. All right. Yeah, sure. But nonetheless, you were all heading to the 4th floor, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that's where you are when you hear Carolina's spell.
I'll speak into Zaylene's mind then. Other than she
Are
probably
you
wouldn't hear
replying
me
to
otherwise.
her sending?
Oh, yeah. What does Carolina actually send? What was the message?
Open the door. Hurry, 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 hurry.
You're back
Let us
awfully
in. Let us
soon.
in.
It'll take me a minute to get there.
I can. You have to. Oh, you have to.
So that was
Yeah.
just the response to the sending, and then to Zaylene in with telepathy.
They're already back. I don't understand. That didn't seem to take that long. They're at the door. Sounded
Okay.
urgent.
Let's go. Let him in.
All right. Are you hurrying?
Yeah, like I'll grab him and like run down the stairs.
Okay, so even if you're dashing, it's going to take 2 rounds for you to get down
Okay.
because you're going down the stairs.
Just open the big
vertically
door.
on the side.
Then I would be small.
I'll just go through.
And you'll be two size.
You'll be
levels
really
down.
small then.
Well, I'll still have the same amount of magic.
Okay.
So how does your suppressing of the arcane lock work exactly? What's the mechanic for that? Just realized my range
All it
was-
is, you just
Stop.
suppress it. So either is a keyword or just touch it essentially.
Well, you can't touch
Want
it.
to double check?
It's currently, towering. If you go through and your 2 sizes too small.
Well, I have fly.
Okay. All right.
How long does that last?
So
10 minutes.
Okay.
You're you're flying, but remember that your fly speed is relative to your size.
Mhm.
So it would be a couple of rounds, I think, to get all the way up to where it is if you are like half an
Okay.
inch tall. Does that make
So
sense?
yeah, he'd do the math and then
On second thought, let's go down.
Okay.
All right. So running back down around. Do you reply to Carolina?
I did. Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right. So that's the reply you got, Carolina. Um, what are you doing? So that was your turn. We're going around again. Let's see. Hang on. I was checking on a range thing. Okay. Okay. Um, what's your AC, Lynn?
17.
Okay, so both of you have surprisingly high ACs for your level. It's fine.
Well, it's because I
Mhm.
have a shield right now. Like,
A crossbow bolt pings off the lintel of the door near you, but misses. All right, so that is, and I think you also hear sort of a piercing whistle that definitely carries over the ring. Sequential.
Well, if this crossbow bolt came flying in, I will. Yeah. I'm toying with some other spell ideas, but I don't think the timing works out. Um, I Yeah, I have. Well, if I can, yeah, I guess I'd do a perception check to try to
Yeah.
see where they're shooting from.
Sure. Go ahead and roll a perception check with disadvantage because of the rain.
It's covering my. I hate that the little totals cover the actual dice.
Hmm.
So it showed up as a 19, and I told it to do it with disadvantage. Oh, okay, so there was a 15 and a 19 plus 4, so
Okay. Yeah.
19
So
is
19
with
is.
disadvantage.
Okay. Yeah. You look into the storm darkened swamp around you, and there's the general direction that you came from, but you don't see anything. It's just rain and mud and trees.
Hmm. Um, Weak sauce.
Yeah. It's yeah, you are sure. What I will give you for that check is that you are sure that they are at least 200 feet away, because if they were closer than that, you're sure you'd see them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then I will go ahead and cast shield.
Well, shield's a reaction, so you don't have to cast that
Oh,
now.
it is
You
only
can,
a reaction.
yeah,
That's
mhm.
right. Oh, duh.
Yeah, you can have that. So you could hold an
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
action, but if you hold an action, that would be your reaction to do it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah,
That's
so
right.
I mean,
That's right. And my shield works off reaction too to analyze. So right now, if I guess I would just take the dodge action.
hmm? That I
I
mean
would just
that's an
take a
entirely
dodge
reasonable.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Dodge.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, okay, and that would be. Let's see. This time, a crossbow bolt skitters across the and sticks into the mud about a foot shy of your feet. Sequential, and once again, just seems to fire out of the brush somewhere.
Wait, wasn't it my turn next?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Well, I like after sequential I was supposed
Yeah,
to
okay,
go. I
yeah,
think.
go ahead.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh. I don't want to be like. Okay.
No, that's fine. I'm just go ahead and take. Yeah, it's your turn.
I wanted to grab sequential's hand
Mm-hmm.
and say, "Follow me closely. Don't let go." And I want to cast invisibility on both of us.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Sure.
Cool.
And but as I do that, like take his hand and start running down the stairs
Mm-hmm.
so that we start vanishing as we go, and then stop. And I want to go back to the door.
Okay. Both of you make
So,
a
like,
stealth
they-
check with
if-
advantage.
My stealth's normally at disadvantage, so it'll be a straight.
Wait, hold on. That rolled at disadvantage for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, it shows both, so you just
Yeah.
you know that it's the 15.
Okay.
But sequentials is not as good.
Mine is
well-
a 6.
So the idea is I want them to see us going down the stairs and away from
Yeah,
the tower if they
okay.
can spot us.
Well, right, but that you get a stealth check with advantage to go back up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm,
Okay.
I'm not trying. I'm not trying to deprive you of anything. I mean, that.
yeah.
That was,
I want everybody to know exactly
See,
what the intention
here's the
was.
thing
so.
is that, like, I mean, if I wanted to be mean about it, you're in the rain, and in like, in a lot of ways that would minimize the effectiveness of invisibility. I mean, I'm still giving you the advantage, but I'm just saying that, like, you're still gonna like stand and make splashes in the puddles. There's gonna be a little bit of a like an outline where the rain's not going, but it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You got your advantage. You rolled. It's good. The previous roll was a miss anyway, so that was that turn. Sequential. Once again, it's your turn.
Well, now knowing we're invisible, I don't want to give that up. Interesting. So, I can't see them. I mean, I guess I would do another perception to try to see them because
Okay.
I think that's step 1, phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
Well, or yeah, why not? I'll do this. So, since we're playing with pocket dimensions, maybe we need another one. So, I'll pull out about 10 feet of rope from my spool, unlimited spool thingy,
Uh-huh.
magical spool, 10 feet of rope, and chop it and cast rope trick, which will make it go straight up into the air.
Okay, and as soon as you cast the spell, you are now visible again.
Oh yeah.
No. And
Oh.
rope trick has always been a little bit interesting in the sense that I feel like climbing a 60-foot rope in any other circumstance would require a roll. So why do we not require a roll to climb up 60 feet of rope into the rope trick for that
Sure,
spell?
yeah.
I've always thought that seemed a little bit weird, but I kind of figured like it's allowed on basis of it being a magic spell, like it's like
All right.
magically easy to climb or something like that, but I don't know.
It does say up to 60 feet.
Okay, well, my impression is that it. So I guess it doesn't have to be, but so if you cast the spell, you will turn visible. Lynn won't.
Right.
Let's see, up to 60 feet long. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. So if it's just 10
Well,
feet, you would, yeah, you wouldn't have to climb. No, yeah, so if it doesn't have to be 60 feet. I always just, for some reason, assumed. But yeah, so
Yeah,
like, I
but
think it's your
forgot about
action
the
to
whole.
cast, though, so I think it would take another action to actually
Right, try
climb
to
up
get
into
up in
it.
there. But yeah,
But,
no,
but Lynn could.
my
could get up
intention
in
was
there.
not to blow the invisibility. So,
Okay,
yeah, so I
I'll let you
would
retcon
not do that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I can't see where they are, I have nothing else really interesting again to do. So, well, I do want to try to perceive again to see exactly where
Oh,
they
yeah,
are.
sure,
'Cause
sure.
That's information is good to have. But disadvantage. All right, that's 8, so it's probably not going to be any better.
Okay.
So 8 with disadvantage. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, once again, it is just, this is an extremely poor circumstances for trying to spot someone who's a ways away, who you don't already know where they are.
Right. Yep.
It's just hard to see at that distance. And that is accounted for also in the fact that they've been missing you a couple of times.
Yep.
They're having the same problem. But okay, so yeah, I think you. What I'll say is you have a general sense of the direction where the crossbow bolt came from,
Right.
but you don't see them. Is the point? So like you saw when that last one came through, it's like came from that way somewhere. All right.
Cool.
So that was, Sequential is spending his turn trying to look for this, where this attacker is. Do you have one more turn, Carolina?
Just trying to stay quiet and like plastered against the door and like just waiting for the signal that it's like open and we can go through
Yeah.
because it's staying so bad.
All right. Hang on. Let's see. Yeah. I think that, so are you taking like the dodge action, or are you're just trying to be quiet, or?
Yeah, I would try to like if
I mean,
they
if you're not
fired
gonna-
at us again.
I guess
Sure.
there's not really anything
Yeah.
to hide behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, you're invisible, which means any attack roll against you would already be at disadvantage, even if they knew to fire your approximate location. So technically, the dodge action doesn't get you anything, but up to you what you want to do.
Yeah, I guess I would just like try to duck or something if I saw like duck behind my shield if I saw a or heard a crossbow bolt fire or something like that.
Okay.
An incoming attack.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Both of you see a familiar spell, Dimension Door. Poof, and the half orc appears directly in front of the two of you at the base of this tower. He's glowering at you, but that is his action for this round, and so that is what he's done. And so just as he appears there, though, that's where we're going to say on the inside of the door. Zaleen, you and Nedry, and did you bring Zinhorn and Buster as well, even though they're pocket size? So you have arrived down at the door, and now what?
As long as he's within 5 feet, it's a password thing. I looked that up.
Okay.
They'll call it Oliphant,
All
and
right.
the arcane lock will be suppressed for a minute.
Great.
There, that should do it.
Now you guys don't have any way to open it from this side.
Nope.
Do you have a way to tell Carolina
Nope.
that it's all right?
He will try something,
Okay.
which is he'll point towards the door. It may or may not work. It's entirely up to you. He's pretty
Okay.
sure it won't work.
Huh?
And he will cast Message. Message can go around things and it can go through a certain space, but I don't know if the extra dimensional space makes a difference here. But he'll try it anyway as an
How
experiment.
about this? Let's give me an Arcana check.
Sure. 24.
Okay. Yeah. Lynn, you hear. I assume you were going for Lynn, or does it even
Yes.
matter? Yeah. It
No,
does,
I
right?
target a creature within
So
range and whisper.
because you're still right by the door, you hear the message spell come through. Well, what do you say, Nedry?
It's open. Come on in.
All right, so you hear that even though it's a little bit like hollow and echoey compared to usual, but you do hear him and you do make him out. And so technically it is now Sequential's turn.
Okay. My turn with a big, ugly face staring at us.
Mm-hmm.
I will take a bonus action first, since I have the Force Ballista on my little shoulder, and have it shoot a Force Bolt.
All right.
Which, of course, I failed to look at what the stat is for that silly person. Okay, clear. Clear. Make a ranged. Oh, it's a ranged spell attack. Okay.
All right.
Duh. Which is a +7. Oh, so it's a 12.
A 12 misses. You see the half-orc sort of duck out of the way of the blast.
Then I will stare at him, and my eyes go into a spirally thing
Ooh.
that cause fear.
Oh, okay.
And,
All right. What check does he make for
which
that?
is a Wisdom 14 saving throw.
Ooh. Why does he not have better? I'm complaining about the stats of this creature I made. All right. Ooh, got an 18.
Then nothing happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Um.
You see him like squint a little bit and shake his head, resisting your spell. All right, Carolina, it's your turn. This half-orc is right there. Sequential was not able to damage him this time. What are you gonna do? You heard Nedry's message.
Grab Sequential and I think we just knocked on the door before and it let us in. I feel like that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
We tried the knob. I'm sure we did both of these things, so I know which one works.
All right. So you knock, and the two of you are poofed inside, knocking back Zaleen, who is standing right there. I assume. You are just sort of like, they sort of appear in there, and their expanding space just naturally sort of forces you back. So I'm not going to say there's any damage or you don't fall prone or anything, but it is kind of like a sudden gust of wind pushes you back to make space for them to appear. And the door is closed behind them. But here's the thing, at least right now, they're right outside, and the door lets anyone who knocks in.
How
So
long
if-
does it take?
I don't know if I would
Measuring.
have time to get any words out. I'd say, 3 of them right outside. Then that would be it.
Okay.
Like, she's bleeding,
What's
and
outside?
it's not clearly in a lot of
So
pain.
Nedry
Does
is
not look
literally
good.
like the size of a housefly flying around.
Who's outside?
Okay, so what I'm going to say is, right now, you know that in principle, like, he might be right on your heels, but everyone who is inside gets a chance to do a thing.
And I fly to Carolina
Are you also flying? Did you cast? Oh, you have your own wings still.
I have wings.
Yeah.
He has wings.
Then I'm gonna fly over to her and cast a healing spell on her.
Okay.
How far down? I mean, like, how hurt does she look? How hurt?
I
are
have
you?
11 out of 45 hit points.
I think what you see from her is it's a relatively small wound that's bleeding, but the thing is, she looks sick. She looks just like her eyes are a little bit sunken. You know, just her face is very pale.
Okay. I'm going to do cure wounds at 3rd level.
All right.
And I get 24 hit points.
Thank you. Much better. I no longer look like I'm going to die.
That's good. That's good. Nedry, you and Zaleen could both have an action as well.
I am going to prepare my cloak or my skin, and if anybody comes through that door, they're getting murder ribbons.
Okay. So, I mean, everyone's currently, like, we saw on that map that, like, there's not a lot of space there, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be like back up,
Okay.
like up the steps and get back.
All right. What about you, Nedry?
Safety first.
And he'll cast Mage Armor, slap the book, and point at Carolina. Carolina will gain. Find the thing here. 8 temporary hit points.
Very nice. All
As a
right.
slightly shimmering blue glow forms around her and myself.
All right. So all of you, knowing that the door is open to whoever knocks your half-orc enemy right outside, the other 2 halflings presumably on their way, and you wait and you watch the door, and you wait. And you wait.
Are we waiting for something in particular?
And that's where we'll end tonight's session. So, I was tickled that only 2 of you were going out all by yourselves when to spring that ambush.
Maybe
It
we
seemed
should
like
have
such a
mentioned.
simple task.
Maybe we should have mentioned the giant shambling mounds that are out there too.
All right, so we're
You
going
think?
to
Details.
we're going to find out what happens next in 1 week when we return for more adventure on so many levels.
So many
many
levels.
Oh.
Thanks, everybody. And